Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Golden Caribou Resources, traded on the CSE under the ticker GCC, and on the OTC markets under the ticker GCCFF. And we're joined today with the president and CEO of Golden Caribou, Frank Callaghan. And Frank, great to get you on the call to get an update. We talked about a month ago in early November, and we were discussing some of the holes you had drilled. You've drilled two more holes since we chatted last, and both of these things are kind of monster holes, very long intercepts. I want to start with the hole you put out and released on November the 19th. And this is where you intersected 275 meters of 0.53 grams per ton gold. That also included a 50-meter section of 1.28 grams per ton gold in the halo zone. So a very long intercept. The other hole we'll talk about also a very long intercept. What are some of the key takeaways you want investors to have when you put out these holes that are really running with mineralization?
Thanks. Great to hear from you again, and thanks for the trying to keep your viewers updated. So yeah, we continue drilling. We've reported, as you just mentioned, that last hole, and I think I mentioned even in that other interview that this thing just keeps getting larger, and it truly does, and that's evidenced by the last hole, that hole that you just reported at 275 meter. I mean, that's a heck of an intercept, especially when you think you're only 4 kilometers off of a highway. This is going to be it's wider than that now. We know with other holes that have been drilled after that, and how this is going to be looked at. It's going to be bulk mined, and the grade is in keeping with other mines that are this similar style of deposit. So we're pleased. There's no substitute for grade. Everybody would like to see higher grade. The style of this deposit, and we don't see a lot of these in British Columbia. This is more of what you see in that Abitibi gold belt, where you've got the new Malartic mine. It does 60,000 tons a day, and the grade of that is 0.8 of a gram. If you look just next door to us, the 12 million ounce deposit that is being done at Blackwater, that grade is 0.65 of a gram. They've got a silver component that adds on to top of that, but the gold grade of that is, as I mentioned, 0.65 a gram. So we're keeping with what the style of deposit is, and we're just going to carry on drilling. It's more, we're going to see it wider, and now we're stepping out going forward, and we stepped out 100-meter step out for this one particular hole that you're referring to here right now.
Well, and Frank, I think you make a good point that when you're looking at bulk tonnage mining, which are some of the biggest mines on the planet and definitely coveted by the majors, that's the kind of mines they want to run, that is kind of the game plan here. So you may have some high grade areas, and of course you want to see higher grade pockets, but the idea here is to find mineralization that's economic. And so you're reawakening the Cariboo Gold Rush area here in British Columbia, and this is by what was a prior producing Quesnelle Gold Quartz Mine. So maybe just speak to some of the historic drilling and production that was done here, but also the nature of bulk mining and why it's so attractive to the bigger companies.
Much easier to mine is the first thing. It's definitely much easier to mine, and then on top of that, what you've got going on here is these things are large. They go deep. When this was first in production, it was an underground mine, and the grade that they're looking for then was running about a third of a gram. But there were skinny veins, and it was a tough go. But that's not what really the model is, and we've defined that this is going to be, you see it stockworks. There's lots of veins. There's smaller veins, but they're a stockwork, and we're finding as we move forward. You've just reported hole 17, which going into is even a larger hole. That hole was a monster intercept, and it was some 435-meter intercept, and that was a 240 meter, 250 meter step out. And yet that hole, we stopped probably light of the Osisko property line by less than 100 meters. So there's more coming. We've kept moving forward. And I think that you're going to see that. I think the grades we're definitely seeing the veining is improving. The veining is getting thicker. You got to remember that this is a brand new discovery, and we don't know a whole lot about it, and we're just learning about it. So it's more we're drilling a little bit blind, but that getting a better understanding of the model is starting to come together.
Yeah, Frank, and I think it's worth digging into that hole that you just put out on December the 9th that you referenced there. That, like you say, historically they wanted to see about a third of a gram per ton gold. Well, here you go with 0.3 grams per ton gold, but over 452 meters, and like you say, it right up that expanding that halo zone right up to the claim boundary, right up to where Osisko development is right near you. Maybe for people not familiar with this or that missed our first call, just remind them that Osisko Development has a lot of the land around you, and the mineralization doesn't end at the arbitrary boundary between the two companies. So the odds are this mineralization all ties together on both sides of the property fence.
It certainly does. And this is it's a parallel trend. So this is not the same trend of mineralization that Cisco, when they purchased our last company, and when they purchased that, for some 330 odd $1 million, we're on a parallel trend to that. And so the mineralization is a little bit different, but it's more in keeping with what the style that you see, as I mentioned again, between in the Timmins and Val-d'Or camp. The rocks are similar to that. And so that you're seeing more of this lower grade stuff where over in Wells and Barkerville area, the veins are, you're in a completely different system. It's a parallel system, mind you, and the grades are higher and the veins are wider. This is different rocks. It's more like what you see down in the Spanish Mountain style, and that's a 5 million ounce deposit. So we're identical to that. We don't have the graphite, but we're identical to that system, and that's just 4.75 million ounces, I think, is their indicated category, and there's got another 500,000 ounces on top of that inferred, I think is what it is. So they're well over a 5 million ounce deposit as well. So we're in keeping with that model, and it's looking real good. I mean, it really is.
Well, Frank, fingers crossed that you bulk up to multi-million ounces here, but we just remind people this is very early days still. You've only drilled 21 holes, or the 21st hole is in the process of still being drilled. You've released assays on 17. The holes we just discussed were the 16th and 17th hole, so more assays to follow. And your team's just going to keep drilling through the season. You may take a little break, I think you mentioned last time for the holidays, but then you're just going to keep blasting through unless there's a deep freeze all the way through the winter, all the way through the spring. So we're going to have a lot of assay results to keep discussing together as more results come out to the market. But you've also been acquiring some land here. And so I want to dial back to a news release you put on the 12th of November, where you acquired a district lot adjacent to the historic Quesnelle Quartz Mine. So this was a strategic piece of land. Talk to us about this acquisition.
Well, it's been inherited. It's gone through two different groups that have been the previous owners of it. Each one of them have inherited this property, and they've had it for. They're going back to the 1940s thereabouts that it's been in this family. This one particular fellow, they've had it for well over 60 years that they have actually had it, and the fellow's never even that owns it has never even been to see the property. Yet he was a firm believer in what his brother was doing. Yet his brother had inherited it as well, so it was pretty funny. But they were over in Sweden, and I happened to be over in Stockholm for a mining show. I phoned the fella up and went out and met him and said, why don't you be part of this big project? And, we don't know what's on your ground, but it looks like it goes that way. And so he wasn't interested in only cash, and he became a shareholder, and he got a couple of 100,000 shares of the company. And he's really keen to be part of the project. So from that perspective, we're really happy. And Alexis, the vendor of the property, is we're in touch once a week. He's an older gentleman that is keen to see something going on to keep his brother's legacy alive. So that was really a strategic purchase. We've been trying to find the gentleman for the past 5 years. I had to go onto ancestry.com and try to locate these people and stuff because they'd gone and paid for the property and they just kept the payments well in advance. And there was no record as to where they lived or any of that sort of stuff. So it was quite a hunt. That was fun. And as you mentioned, we'd actually gone and staked some other ground. And that's really very exciting as well. That's some 90,000 hectares that we staked. And this is ground that when we made the discovery back in 2000, when we discovered Bonanza Ledge, which led to be near a 6 million ounce deposit up in Wells that was taken over by Cisco. I'd always looked further north at, all of the juice of these things. I'm not a geologist, but I understand enough of it to keep myself in trouble. And, I had all these different faults, especially the Eureka thrust and everything, all sort of converging up along what we refer to as the Barkerville trend. And that's where Cisco's mining now. And I was always curious as to what was there. And when we staked that whole belt back in the day, 64 kilometers long, and we went staking right after we made the discovery. Well, we did the same thing here. Once we realized hole 14, I believe, was 130 odd meters, 1.7 grams, or something to that effect. And I'm going, what's the other side of this Pluton? It's similar rocks to what we're in now. And what else is there? There's the Barkerville trend. So We were able to go and stake that. And it's just, it's something that I've always wanted. I've always been curious about. And the geologists were firmly behind going after and being aggressive and taking this on because they understand that these types of systems, and we've proved it with where we are now, that this works. And then the other side of this thing going all the way around the Pluton, it's the same rocks. It's exactly the same. So, and then here you've got placer production in that area where we've gone and staked these claims. So if that doesn't tell you there's gold there, nothing will. I mean, so this is going to get just more exciting next year. And Jean Peltler, the chief geologist on the project, her and Sarah Palmer is a structural geologist. I mean, they're excited about this. This is really a great opportunity. It really hasn't been looked at really carefully before, especially with the eyes that we're looking at it now. And that's what's led to the discovery where we are now, is because the gals, Angie and Gina, that recognize that these are the same rocks that when we made the discovery, but we're closer to a greenstone contact, and that changes things a bit. And all the largest mines in the world are right alongside of a greenstone contact. So this is going forward. Next year is going to be just an amazing year for the company. It really is. It's going to be very, very exciting.
Well, I think it is exciting to have biggie size the land package when you understand the geological model and when you understand that these greenstone contact areas are where the big mines are found in many different pockets of the globe. And now that brings you up to, I think, the third largest claim holder in the Cariboo Gold District. So massing up and biggie sizing the land package, but also with a clear geological interpretation. And I think the proof's in the pudding. You've been hitting in almost every hole you put into this. So hats off to your geological team for really understanding it. And like you say, if there's placer gold production and you're finding gold in the rivers there, it's coming from somewhere. And it looks like you're dialing in where it's coming from. You mentioned next year is going to be exciting. We are kind of near the end of the year here, Frank. So let's look ahead to next year, 2025. What can people expect from Golden Cariboo?
We're not going to take any more land. We have more land for your American viewers. I mean, we're sitting somewhere north of 235,000 acres. It's a heck of a land package. That's enough to keep somebody busy for the rest of their lives. And the geologists are prepared. I'm going to, just so you know, none of you are leaving here. You're here for life now. Like you've got all this land. This is what makes geologists is go figure this out, and they're going to do that. So there's going to be the exploration group that's going to be going out there that has found what and as you mentioned it, because every single drill hole that we have reported from day one has had amazing gold intercepts in it. And it's all a brand new discovery. We have not missed touch wood on a drill hole yet, and there's more coming. And so there'll be the drilling team that does the drilling, and we've got 3 drills sitting on site. We're going to keep running with one for all winter long. I think as spring comes along, that we'll gear up and run a second drill and possibly even a third drill. We'll see how the financing part of it goes, but the thing is it's not about how many drills are going. It's making sure that every one of them hits. So we're walking as opposed to running, and we want to just continue at the rate that we're going right now, and every hole be successful. So, and then the exploration side of it as well, like we're on all this new ground that's been staked. I mean, some of it's exactly the same and some of it is quite different. So we've got a couple of different models that sit on the other side of this Pluton. So I'm most excited about it. I mean, I've been looking at this for 25 years and I'm going, the opportunity, I can't believe that it was still available. That's what I shake my head at. I look at it and going, how come nobody else sees this? Anyways, we've got it, and we're going to have just one heck of an exciting year next year.
Well, all right, Frank, we'll wrap it up there, but it is exciting, and there could be maybe multiple systems going on here. So you're going to have the Truth Machine out there next year testing some of these new targets, but so far the team has been incredibly accurate with the holes they put in, hitting mineralization. I know there's a couple more holes you've drilled since even this interview, so we'll get you back on when those assays come back out, and we'll keep dialing into the results as they come back in from the labs. If people want to follow a drill play in gold, the Golden Cariboo has some of the most interesting results coming out right now to the market. So we're definitely going to keep following along with it here at the KE Report. And if you want to follow along with the news, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the company website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates or just watch them live as they come out to the marketplace. Frank, keep us posted as more news comes out. We'll get you back on, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Well done. Thank you very much, Chad. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned. More drill results coming.